Hi, welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm Tina Howard, and this week I have guests that I know that you will know. It's Mark Seabolt and Laura Seabolt, or as I know her from the veterinary world, Dr. Seabolt. So welcome to Community Conversations.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
I'm so glad to have you guys here. I've been asking, I think, now for about a year, so maybe not that long, but I have wanted you guys to come on ever since the very, very beginning here, because I think you're a fascinating couple. I think each of you are interesting in your own right, and I think together you're just incredibly fascinating. So I'm going to dive right in. Okay?
All right.
Okay. Mark, you have deep roots here.
Yes.
Your dad came here in the 70s?
71.
And in case anybody doesn't know, Mark's father is Fletcher Seabolt and came here in 71 to establish the Dairy Queen, right? Mm-hmm. The institution. I can't think, just first right off, I can't think of any one person in Hart County who has done as much as Fletcher Seabolt for the community, and just with the vehicle of having one little fast food operation.
Yeah.
So he's a legend, and your family is legendary too. So. And you're the youngest in that family?
Yes.
Yeah. And you have older brothers and sisters, and then you
I
have
do.
any other family here besides siblings and mom?
Locally, yes, cousin.
Yeah.
My cousin Ray's been with us since 79 at the DQ.
Yeah, Ray's a fixture
Yes,
at the DQ.
he is. He's part of the Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
So cousins here and there.
Okay, well, good.
But yeah, we've got a good family represented at the DQ.
It's a family operation in that I know a number of your family members work it or have worked it over the years, but you're such a great employer for the community. A lot of the high school kids, their first job is with you at the Dairy Queen. What's that been like, running the DQ? Because I know you've run it for a while now.
It's been quite a few years I've been back over there, and it's changed as you grow. I mean, perspective and everything, but it really becomes fascinating the older I get to watch these kids come in that either have never had a job or they've helped their parents or something, and they've never dealt with the public, or they've never dealt with a fast-paced thing like fast food. But there's so many bright kids out there, and we've been fortunate to have a lot of great ones come through, but it's just interesting to see how they change over time. I guess everybody that's older has had that experience.
Yeah.
But me working with kids, I grew up in the Dairy Queen my entire life in the restaurant business, hiring people. So I've hired, hundreds and hundreds of people, but just over time, it's the perspective on what youth means and how bright, and it's, I guess, older you get, you seem more forgiving of the excitement and the pure exuberance from the youth. So
And you could write a book on that. That's a good topic.
it's interesting, it's fun, and you see all how kids change. I think that's the thing for every generation that grows up. Oh, they're not like they used to be, and maybe they are, maybe they're not, but there's still a lot of good kids we enjoy bringing them in and helping mold them just a little bit, at least, for their work experience. And, not everybody fits in any environment, but I think a lot of them appreciate it, and I still enjoy seeing former employees down the road, run into them out and about and have a conversation and see how they're doing. So.
I bet this town is full of former employees.
Oh, my.
You can't go anywhere, can you?
No, you go anywhere and you run into somebody that says, "Oh, I remember working for Miss Francis, my mom," or "I remember back when," or "Do you remember you just got out of Georgia and you were the first person I was the first hiree for you." And so it's fun to hear those stories.
It's funny, Miss Francis probably reared more children than anybody else, by virtue of having so many young people come in. Mm-hmm. That's really great. Well,
she has.
That's fun. And you continue to operate the Dairy Queen.
Absolutely, yes.
Which now is such an institution for so many different reasons, but not the least of which is your morning crowd. You have a crowd that comes in the morning, right?
Yes, we're fortunate to have our own breakfast. That was another one, another pat on the back for Dad, a good choice. and something he stuck with. He started that breakfast in, I think, 78, 79.
Nobody was doing that back then.
No, fast food breakfast was not a thing then.
No.
I mean, there was Hardee's that came along a little
Yeah.
in the 80s for Hartwell, but in general, there weren't a lot of fast food places doing breakfast. And he just built it and tried to serve fast, quality food and take care of all those folks. He said, and that's why, you know, we were always open when it snows or it's icy outside. And this is, what about your employees? And Dad's thing was, well, what about all those people that still have to get up and go work?
That's
We're
true.
going to take care of them.
That's
I'm
true.
not. So he would always be out. He'd drive to work with a tractor with front end loader and clean the parking lot. And
That is awesome.
there's so many Fletcher stories like that.
Yes, that needs to go in the book.
Yeah, it's
All the Fletcher story.
picking people up in the ice and snow, and we
Yeah.
try to continue that. I mean, we worry about the safety of our employees just like
course.
anybody else, but a lot of them have that same, like, we got to take care of our people, and that's
Yeah.
just kind of what Dad always emulated.
Well, interestingly, your breakfast ends up taking care of a lot of people socially because, you know, it draws a lot of people and allows them a place to get their social needs met.
Right.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
So that's great. What a great place. And Laura comes to us from where? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Alpharetta, so north of Atlanta.
So if you grew up in Alpharetta was a small town back in the day.
It was, well, yeah, it was rural. It was
Yeah.
kind of country.
Yes, not unlike Hartwell at that point, I
Yeah.
think, because Alpharetta didn't kind of grow into the city of Atlanta until probably the 80s.
Yeah, I was 16 when we really noticed that it was starting to get,
Yeah,
bigger, more people.
that's great. It's Alpharetta's a lovely place.
It is, yeah.
Do you still have family there?
I have in Cumming. Yeah.
Okay, close to
it's-
there.
yeah,
then. Well, that's cool. And you came to Hartwell when you and Mark met, is that right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get to hear all about that. Mark has been in real estate as part of your many careers, and I think that's where I got to know you
Right.
best is in real estate. And so I remember when you guys met. So but I don't know that I remember how you met.
Do you want
Did
to
you
take that?
decide on
want
the
to take
story?
that?
It's not really exciting. We actually met online.
Yeah?
Through one of the dating apps, or if it
Which
wasn't
is
an app,
how
it was
everybody
online.
meets
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he had read a book called 4 Hour Work Week, and he had that, in his profile, and I had read that a couple of, years before. And so I just kind of reached out to him, and I was like, hey, I read this book. What did you think of it? And I don't know, that's how it started.
That's interesting
Yeah.
because y'all are the second couple that met online by virtue of sharing interest in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Because Richard and Margaret Sanders met the same exact way.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that funny?
That is.
So a shared interest in a book that you had read started the conversation, and then you
Yes.
emailed back and forth or wrote, I don't know, texted, I don't know what you do.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah, all
I'm
of the above?
still old fashioned. These, they go back and forth and text, and I can do all that, and that's fine. But we messaged a few times. I was like, look, let's meet somewhere public now.
Yeah.
I'm not up for the whole.
And what was that like the first time you met? Were you so nervous, or did you feel like I pretty much know who this person is?
It was nervous.
I
was it?
definitely not.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I was late, remember, like an hour late. I had been at work, and we had an emergency come in, and so I was stuck there, and he had
And I
to
was
wait
waiting,
for
hanging
me.
out with Joey Tucker at a realtor function in downtown
In Athens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Athens Association was having
Yeah.
a meeting, so social. So I was just kind of waiting on time, and yeah, it was very
starting to think,
nerve-wracking.
She's standing me up.
No, she was
you
keeping
knew.
me in the loop, and I wasn't
Because
going anywhere if she
I
was
will
coming.
say, Dr. Seabolt is a doctor of veterinary medicine, so it's perfectly understandable that you might have had some kind of emergency that kept you at the last minute.
Yeah.
So that's a huge.
And that's quite literally what she was doing. She was having to try to get out of work from out of
Wow.
vet's
Just
office.
finish up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
finish up. So.
Well, that's great. And so you finally did meet, and how did the first date go? Was it awkward, or was it like, did it get okay after a while?
It was good.
It was great.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool. And after that, you were kind of long distance a little bit. Not
Kind of,
not
Watkinsville.
terrible, right?
Yeah, I mean about an hour, hour and
that's not
15.
bad.
Yeah, not
That's
too
doable.
bad. But it was, yeah.
It was
I would
a
come up-
whirlwind, right? It was pretty quick.
We fell in love, I think, really quickly.
We did, and then I guess I did the guy thing and just kind of dragged my feet along.
Well, I had kids, so we were very careful to
Oh, yeah.
make sure
Sure,
that it
yeah.
was,
Yeah.
going to work out. But
Yeah.
I would come up on my days off, and we would plant things at the farm.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you always have the interest in planting and growing and having a garden?
Yeah, I started trying to grow things when I was in college, and most of the time I killed them. Just
me
putting them in
too.
the wrong place or not doing the water right. But I kept trying other things, and I had a little garden in vet school and
nice.
in my house in Athens. So I had like herbs and flowers and stuff. So
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah.
you might have looked at Mark's interest as common to yours in terms of plants too.
yeah, but I was intrigued because we would text and he would say, he was in the greenhouse and he was starting seeds, and that was something I hadn't done. I always bought plants, and he was starting like cabbage and squash and tomatoes and basil and thyme and like everything, that he could think of. And so that was I was like, wow, that's awesome. And he was growing for the restaurant at the time, so for Fletcher's.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
That is something I don't know if a lot of people know, is when Fletcher's restaurant was in operation next to the Dairy Queen, your farm provided a lot of
What we could.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty massive scale though to try to meet.
Depends on what it was. Greens a lot. We had the collard green, turnip greens, the okra. We always had unique
wonder
heirloom
that was
okras that we could grow, and you'd get something you couldn't get anywhere else. That fried okra was a little different. Like I said,
Tomatoes.
tomatoes, obviously. Just anything else we could get in. The restaurant could use it, and it was funny. We may get to it, but I'm a tomato nut and old-fashioned tomatoes, round and red. And so we'd grow hundreds of varieties. Well, they're not all round and red, so we'd bring in a yellow one or a swirled one, and people were like, can you swap that out for me?
Well, I wouldn't know either, to be honest.
No, I mean, it's
yeah,
fine, and it's fun to talk with people. It was a good conversation point.
Wow. That's interesting.
I still get them a red tomato, but
Yeah.
it was still a good conversation.
That is a good conversation. But tell us how serious you are about the farming, because when you and I were working in real estate, you would share with me some of the things that you were doing at the farm. I didn't even know at that point that you did farming in terms of vegetables. So you studied that in college. You were serious about pursuing.
I did. First time through, when I went to UGA both times. Well, both times, 1 degree. Back when, for business management, got out and was at Fletcher's for about 15 years. And then I just needed to go back. I had to finish. Dad had gotten sick at one point, so I had dropped out to go back and take care of business. But it always bugged him. He's like, no, you got to go finish. Well, it was 2 elective classes, and I ended up making 1 horticulture. And I'd always loved growing. I'd already been doing that, but that kind of sucked me in. So I went back and got a hort minor. In addition to finishing the degree and doing some other stuff, and met a lot of great people in the industry, and I love it even more than I did.
Wow,
So,
that's interesting, because you were kind of a hobby farmer a little bit.
absolutely.
And had always, you can't grow up here and not know what a good garden tomato is. So, but you went and took that 1 class and said, wow, that's intriguing. And then you went further and got a minor in that. And that sort of launched you towards a lot of different things other than managing the restaurant and being a realtor.
Absolutely, and that's just, I guess, I'll decide what I want to do when I grow up. So I always tell people, I'm not there yet, and I keep changing stuff, but I've always loved, or for a long time, I've loved growing. And you're right, it got me into tomato breeding and got me into other stuff. We say we farm, but I always try to qualify that for real farmers, because I don't want to pretend like we get up 2-3 hours before daylight and go out and take care of all the animals. But it's a lot of hard work, but it's nothing like a real farm.
Yes, I know what you mean.
But we got into tomato breeding, and there's just a lot of potential, a lot of fun there for nerds like me.
I feel silly because maybe I'm the only one who doesn't know this, but I didn't know that you could breed tomatoes.
Yes.
And so explain what that process is. Do you take seeds and...
You grow 2 different tomato plants that you would like to see a combination of.
Okay, so you plant one of this kind and one of that kind.
Right.
Okay.
When the flowers are pretty close on both and ready to open, you'll pull the pollen portion off of one and just leave the exposed female portion.
Okay.
You'll take the pollen from the other plant and just sprinkle it on top of the piece you left.
I did not know that.
Label it, and as long as it takes and fertilizes, you'll have a tomato. And then all those seeds in there are considered hybrid seeds.
So that's something that any hobby person could try.
Anybody can do it.
Okay, I just pictured with seeds and an X-Acto knife and a magnifying glass.
No.
Wow.
No, and from there it becomes a selection process. I mean, it's like anything else. You
Does
grow
that mean
out.
that some work out and some don't?
Some do, some don't. Some are bland, some are, I mean, there's tons of stuff. It can be disease tolerant, it can be extra yummy, it can be a weird color, a weird shape. It just depends on what you're looking for.
So you can pretty much drive that. You can say, I like the firmness of this one, but I like the sweetness of that one, and maybe try to marry the two. That's so interesting. So how is this a trial and error kind of thing?
Some. I mean, you know, if you go to university and do this stuff, they're in there testing every plant that comes out, and usually it's for disease tolerance or some new trait that a tomato doesn't usually have. The last one I saw, and again, I get too nerdy with this, but spider mites and insect resistant. There's a new professor at Kentucky that's come up breeding a tomato resistant to them.
I guess that takes multiple attempts, like getting a hybrid and then another hybrid to marry that to, and then
Most tomato breeding programs run 5 to 10 years because you need at least 8-9 generations before you get anything kind of, so that you can grow a plant, save that seed, plant it again, and get the same plant.
Yeah, you just lost a lot of the hobby people right
Yeah,
there.
no, well, I think at first, some of the crosses that we did were just, we like this tomato and we like this tomato, and let's see what happens if we cross them. But the more he got interested in breeding for a purpose, the more nerdy he got. And so one year for Christmas, I actually bought him a tomato genetics textbook.
It's
So
great.
they are some genes and stuff. I guess that's mapping it.
Yeah.
So they've been mapped. They actually have the whole tomato genome mapped.
Yes.
Yeah. So he has all the genes and he can kind of see, you know, so he does it intentionally now, but at first it was just for fun.
But for the non-nerds, you know, you cross 2 tomatoes and then you grow a bunch out after that and you pick the ones you like.
Yeah.
And you keep picking the ones you like generation after generation, and eventually that'll be what they're all like.
That's interesting. I never knew you could.
I mean, that's the way so many heirloom tomatoes came about. People would go to the store and buy a bunch of celebrity tomatoes at the market and plant them out, and one would end up being a different color fruit, or it'd be bigger, it'd be smaller, and they'd save the seed, and that's the way we've got the heirlooms we have today.
Fascinating.
So,
But you don't just do that for your table. You do that because are you wholesaling? What do you do with what you have when you end up with a tomato that you and Laura say, wow, this is the best? What do you do then?
license it out.
You license it. Tomatoes have a license. Well, you have a
They
license.
can. I mean, some people just enjoy doing it as a hobby.
Okay.
They'll breed out some stuff and then they just share the seed, and we do that with some of the stuff, especially if I didn't create the original one, we just give it away. But for other stuff, I've created a new tiny tomato, and we're going to be licensing it out for nurseries and places to grow. And then there'll be seeds available.
And that's a very special tomato that has a name.
Yes, it's named after my wife, Laura.
Isn't that awesome to have a tomato named after
It
you?
is very flattering because he always talks about it and he's like, the Lauras are just gorgeous, or that's what a Laura is supposed to look like. And I'm like, yes, I know.
That's so awesome.
So, yeah.
Not many wives can say they've had that.
A tomato.
That's just really incredible. But you really think you'll license that out, and
Yes.
that way, that's a business. That could be a big business.
Yeah,
Right?
We've got our working name trademarked and are working toward that. I mean,
Fascinating.
it's tomatoes, so it could go either way. But we have a lot of interest in it. So
Fantastic. So nursery people or grocery stores or other farmers, who reaches out on that?
normally we try to go through people that grow plants for nurseries.
Okay.
License with them because they'll be the ones that directly deal with nurseries.
Okay.
Right now, the only one we've spoken with that's showing extreme interest is someone in California that might pick them up and run them. But basically, they're unique looking. You know, tomatoes, you buy them, you plant them, and you wait 2 years and hope you get a tomato. If I'm to exaggerate, well, that's why we bred one that you could take home and put somewhere, maybe take it home loaded with tomatoes and sit it on the counter, sit it in the window. They ripen up and they can just take it home loaded with tomatoes.
And it's only about this big.
It's only about that big.
Wow.
And that's full grown.
Really? So you don't have to brace it and stake it and have all that stuff because it gets so tall it tips over. Interesting. Okay, Laura, I'm going to switch over. When did you know that you wanted to be a doctor of veterinary medicine?
Probably third grade or so.
Third grade?
Yeah, I was young.
Did that come out of a passion for animals or science or both?
Yeah, I think mostly the animals. Like we had a kitten, and I was like, I want to be, a vet. And I had other things that I wanted to do over the years. I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to be a psychologist or something at one point. But then I got in college and just didn't want to do anything else.
So you practiced veterinary medicine. You had a full life there with kids and the whole practice and everything. Was this in Athens or Alpharetta?
I've kind of been all over.
Been all over.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you moved to Hartwell and you moved here with the kids, you were working with Three Trees, is that right?
After I moved here, right? Yeah.
And I was reminding Laura before the show started that she saved our dog. At one point, he had gone outside and gotten into something because this was a dog that was a rescue and he would eat anything. And he got into something, maybe fertilizer or something, we don't know. But we rushed him there. You were just opening up and you got out of the car and you directed us in and worked magic on this dog. I did not think he was going to make it. And you put a hose in one end and said, clear the room, or something to that effect. and he's doing great. So thank you.
Yes, of course.
So, but you started to, after you moved here and married Mark, you started to do more in farming, I guess, got more interested in farming.
Yeah.
And you have an interesting way of combining your talents, I guess I would say, because you started a blog and it's become quite successful. And so we're going to show the name of the blog, but it is You Should Grow, youshouldgrow.com. And the gist of it is I believe that it encourages people to begin farming. And tell us a little bit about how you got started in that.
So I think really what happened is I was on Pinterest, and just like cruising and looking because I'm a girl, and that's what we do. So I was looking on Pinterest and I kept reading articles about growing tomatoes that I felt like weren't giving the whole truth. And I looked at Mark one day, or they would say, like, grow this tomato or that tomato. And I was like, there's so many cool tomatoes they're not even talking about. So I looked at Mark and I was like, I think I'm going to write a blog about gardening. And the first one is going to be 5 tomatoes you should grow. And then I was like, You Should Grow, that's a good name for a blog. So
that is a good name.
Yeah, so
it tells exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Your typical blog post, it's very well written, by the way, because as journalism becomes practiced by so many people that are not journalists, the quality of writing goes. You're an excellent writer. So it makes it very enjoyable to read your entries. So, and you've been doing that since 2015.
Right.
That's 4 years. That's a long time to stick with something.
Yeah, it's fun though. I love it.
Yeah. Do you get good responses from people?
Yes. My favorite thing is getting comments and emails. So I also have a newsletter. So I send out an email.
Oh, that's
once
nice.
a week-ish. It's hard to do everything, but
it is a commitment to do that.
Yeah. So, but they'll send me emails and telling me what they did or ask me questions, and I'll help them. And they'll say, "Thank you so much," or "What a great idea," and that makes my day. I love it. I also talk about chicken medicine, so I get a lot of questions about chicken medicine.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, well, it's not really,
medicine.
so that's why there's a lot of questions.
Well, I imagine that you would be an expert on the chickens because of your animal background. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say expert, but I'm learning. We have our chickens. We've had chickens a year now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
So, and that was one of my biggest concerns as a vet is like, how am I going to get an animal if I don't know how to take care of it?
Right. A question you wish most people would ask themselves
before
they do something, right?
So that's
but I would say you know more than the average bear about taking care of any kind of animal.
Yeah, but there are always things that you don't know until you experience it. So I started asking around with some of my vet friends and, just took the leap. But
So you've covered tomatoes and chickens, and what other things are in your blog?
I mostly talk about tomatoes, vegetable gardening.
Okay.
And one interesting post that I did was about growing dragon fruit. So my dad had a dragon fruit farm in California.
What?
We went out there.
See, we're not familiar.
You know what a dragon fruit is?
I know what it
pink,
is.
like sort of spiky looking thing. And it grows on a
Can't say I've ever
cactus.
had it.
Yeah. They're very mild sweetness.
Okay.
What do we say? It's kind of like a kiwi-ish.
It's like a mild, sour kiwi. It's more sweet than sour.
Okay.
It's got little black seeds and they're crunchy, kind of like
Like kiwi seeds.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it grows on a little cactus, and it's just so interesting. And he
Your
had this
dad
huge,
had a farm?
huge
With
dragon farm,
A lot.
fruit farm. Yeah. Yeah.
We still have a ton of cuttings.
Yeah, we have a bunch
yeah?
of plants
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
Will they grow here?
We have to keep them inside, and they're just sort of in a holding pattern right
Yeah.
now.
Getting
So we-
fruit set's difficult, but you can do it during the summer. But yeah, it's kind of
Is it a matter
Iffy.
of temperature and water?
and
you've gotta-
humidity.
And humidity.
And it's a lot of stuff.
But a cactus doesn't like, or does like,
Heat.
it likes heat but not humidity probably.
It doesn't like a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
So it's tough here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big giant flowers that open in the middle of the night, and then
Only for one night.
yeah, only for one night, and you have to have the big moths that come by and pollinate, or you have to go by and hand pollinate them. So it was quite an
That's
operation.
fascinating.
Yeah.
So, and your dad has had that farm for a long time in California.
Yeah, he did. He recently sold it
Okay.
last year. But
So you got experience maybe when you were younger.
well, I had been out there several times, and it was a big operation. So, I was like, this is amazing. I'm going
Yeah.
to learn about this. And so we talked, and he had farm hands or helpers, and so we would watch them, observe them, what they were doing, and
It was awesome.
Then, yeah.
It was great.
it was very
And
cool.
you came back, you flew home with cuttings.
He mailed them.
He mailed them
Oh,
for us, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
So we've got plenty.
started.
So you've got dragon fruit happening in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What other interesting things do you have in the greenhouse or on the farm? Chickens.
Yeah.
Any particular type of chickens?
All of them.
You'll
have
have
a
to talk
mixture?
about
Can
those.
you-
I don't.
Can you put multiple different types of
Breeds and
breeds of chickens together? Mm-hmm. Okay. They don't get mad and hurt each other like people.
They have to work out a pecking order.
That's why it's called the pecking order.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? 'Cause it goes for chickens.
So
And they go from small to big, and I know some of the smaller ones are kind of poofy. I've seen
Can
some
be,
poofy
yeah.
small ones.
yeah, I like the ones with the fluffy legs.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, the
Fluffy
legs.
Yeah. So
Good.
They can be quite mean to each other, though.
They can.
Yes.
And then what do you have to do? Separate them?
don't do anything.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's better if you let them work it out in their own language.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like cats, I guess.
Yeah.
And when you have these chickens, do you collect their eggs? Is that part
Oh,
of what
yeah.
you're doing? So you have fresh eggs too on the farm. And I know that you participate in the farmers market, right?
We did.
In years past.
In years
we
past.
haven't
You're so
really-
busy.
When we started mostly breeding, tomato breeding, it wasn't something that lends itself to bringing in a bushel of the same type of tomato.
Yeah.
So we just changed focus because that's really where my passion is.
Yeah.
And there was still a lot of good material for her to write about and
Yeah. That's
make
good.
inroads. And we have a lot of friends that go to market, so if we have any extra, they'll be happy to take it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they would.
And we give away a lot.
Yeah.
And the dragon fruit is not ready, but it's sitting there maybe in a year or two.
Yeah, we're working on some ways to.
We have some ideas we're toying with.
Okay.
We're geothermal greenhouse is on the back burner for something we'd like to do at the farm,
That's interesting.
which will give us, it'll moderate that heat during the summer and the cold during the winter, so we can have a semi-tropical, almost tropical selection of plants in there.
That'd be nice.
So we'd like to do that.
Now, geothermal is you have to dig down and you bring the air up from below the earth, but where it's cool.
Right.
And then you bring that air up and circulate it, and that's how you keep it cool.
Yep.
Which I understand is quite expensive in the beginning, but pays for itself over time.
And in the greenhouse designs, it's a little less expensive than other than the excavation, than the home heating and cooling units.
Right, which is what I was thinking of.
Right, because these are purely bringing in air. They'll just bury a lot of perforated pipe, several hundred feet of it, but perf pipe, and it pulls it in the air, and then it just cools it as it pulls it across.
Or warms it.
Or warms it, depending on
warms
the
it,
temp.
depending on, yeah.
Because you get down about 6 or 8 feet, you shouldn't be around 65, 67 degrees. Pretty
Well,
consistent.
that's interesting. Does anybody else have a geothermal greenhouse around that you know of?
Not that I've seen around here. I mean, there's some elements they've incorporated in the design because, geothermal is a whole study, but not straight out that I have seen.
Seems like it makes so much sense, though.
It does. I mean, that was our final horticulture greenhouse project. They said, hey, find us the cheapest way to produce this crop, And one of the things was, hey, bury it in the ground a little bit and use the cooling. And I don't know why more people don't do it. Maybe I will run into something I don't know.
Well, maybe.
I'm sure I will, but more
Or
than I
maybe
think.
you will be the inventor of something new and different.
Maybe so. There's some neat houses out there that I want to kind of copy.
Okay.
So I'm not going to re-engineer from scratch, but our environment's a little warmer than what they're growing in, so we have to adjust. But still, be fun.
It will be. That will be interesting. Does anything, I'm still in my head, the wheels turn slow. Are you burying any of the actual vegetables or fruits under, or are you just bringing the air up into the greenhouse where everything is?
Some of both. Now, I don't know what we're going to end up doing because with our tiny tomatoes, we work out of pots.
Okay.
Even some of our big tomatoes, we'll do a 20, 30 gallon tub indoor so we don't taint the soil.
Right.
Because in a greenhouse, you can't rotate around,
That's true.
But the ones we've looked at, they grow citrus trees and everything else. I mean, if you want to YouTube it, it's a great one. Nebraska citrus geothermal greenhouse,
Citrus?
and the guy's been growing there for 20 years.
Wow.
And it'll be, 15 degrees below outside, and he's in there, and it's 65 degrees.
How fun.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting. That'll be great. We'll look for that on the blog.
Oh,
you
it'll
can-
be, I'm excited about
Yeah.
So
it.
you can say what happens there. I don't guess animals, that's not a very good way to raise animals. It is too expensive, I guess, when animals can work, like chickens are fine, unless it's really hot or really cold, maybe.
Yeah, the chickens are usually fine in this environment. I guess during the summer they might have a little issue, but during the winter it doesn't get that cold around here for them.
Any other animals on the farm?
Dogs.
Not yet. Dogs.
Yet? He says not yet, like he's thinking. Of,
Just because I know her.
Yeah.
I know what's coming. Goats, I guess, would be first.
Yeah, I want to have some goats.
Goats are fun.
I know, they're just so cute.
Yeah.
And they bounce around and they're just so fun. But there's a lot of safety for them is a little more difficult than chickens.
Yeah, that's
Goats
true.
are notorious for getting out of their enclosures or their pens. So, and there's a lot of woods, so coyotes and
Yeah, that's right.
things are always an issue.
Plus, they'll eat almost anything.
Well, that's kind of why I want them. I want to put them in like a wooded area and help it stay clear. Let them
That's true.
poison ivy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But privet.
Yeah, please eat the privet.
I think they'll even eat the
right.
blackberries, the briars.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Even the briars?
I think so, yeah.
They tried to eat the bumper off my car, so I guess they'll eat blackberry briars.
it doesn't
Nothing. Do your children have interest in the farm? You have 3, and they are 4, 11, and 12.
Right.
And do they all pitch in? Do they like it, or are they not interested? Or are they just too young to know?
Depends on the temperature and
Yeah.
time of day.
What we're
and
doing.
What mood strikes them.
Yeah, that's true.
The baby's the most
Yes.
into it.
She always wants to plant seeds.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
She helped him transplant how many tomatoes?
Whole
tomatoes?
type, something like that. And she transplanted she had it out and was telling me what to do. She had watched me. She said, here, you got to rest it in. And she was pushing it in and said,
How cute is that? A 4-year-old doing
Yeah.
that. Oh my God.
She loves it.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, she gets
Sweet.
excited.
Oh, she may take this whole thing to another generation. That could be very interesting.
Yeah.
That is great.
It'd be nice to see her hang on to it.
Yeah, it sure
Not
would.
grow out of it, but maybe at least she'll come back to it if she's this close to her now.
That is cool. And at 4, she's starting to get into preschool and things like that. And she's probably very social at school, I would imagine.
She has a boyfriend,
Oh, yes. Has a boyfriend already? How cute.
best friend and a boyfriend.
Maybe
Yeah.
she can help him learn to plant too.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Not kindergarten yet, though. Will she go into kindergarten next year, or
No, she's going to be still in preschool.
still in preschool?
Yeah.
So good. You have a little bit of time. And then the older 2 are at middle school.
One is in middle, one is finishing elementary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going there next year.
That's a big thing, going from elementary to middle school.
It is. It's a lot.
Was that hard for y'all?
I think the older one, he enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he felt like kind of like a big kid, you know,
Yeah.
because he got a little more responsibility. And that's been an adjustment for sure, just to not have the teacher telling him exactly what to do as much. And so he's struggled a little bit with remembering assignments and things like that.
And that definitely shifts going into middle school. They're a lot more responsible for their own work,
Right. So,
which is tough.
Yeah.
But he probably does like being the big brother, so he's not in school. How about next year when his sister joins him? Will he be?
he's excited. Well, they've actually, because they were so close together, this is the first year they've been at different schools in their whole life.
Yeah, I guess so.
So he's excited to show her, you know, he says he's going to show her where everything is and, you know, how to get to places.
That's nice.
Of course, she doesn't want her big brother to help her. She's
Aw.
very independent.
She's so lucky, I think.
Yeah.
You know, to have that. That is good. They sound like they're close and they don't fuss too much, maybe.
Well, they're
good.
still siblings.
Yeah.
What are you seeing for, do you have any thoughts or plans for future, for Hartwell, for your business, for your respective business/hobbies? Do you want to grow the blog? Maybe pull in advertisers? I don't know how you grow a blog. How would you grow a blog? Get more subscribers, I guess?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of ways that I make and earn income from my blog currently. So one of the things I do want to do actually is help people locally that are interested in making money online. And if
Oh,
they wanna-
I'm glad you brought that up because you did a class at the Chamber of Commerce, you said.
I did, yeah.
Tell us about the class.
I talked about using SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization, and using that to boost your rankings in Google and get customers to your business.
To make it easier to find you if someone
Right.
Googles planting during spring or something and you'll pop up.
Right. Well, what I do is a different kind of SEO a little bit because a local store is what you want is them to come into your physical location. So it's a little bit different than getting people to my website to look around there.
Wow.
So I talked about just how Google finds like their website or even their Facebook page and what they can do to optimize what they put on there so that when people are looking for best hamburger in Hartwell, you know, their restaurant or whatever the case may be pops up. So we talked about that.
That's extremely useful right now.
Yeah,
As a lot of bricks and mortar stores try to get more online presence and recognition.
and I think that if you don't know what you're doing, it seems like you might have to do more than you really have to do, if that makes any
really?
sense. Yeah, so there are some simple ways, like you don't have to start a blog or have a blog because blogging is its own job. Because people, it's not like the Field of Dreams where if you write it, they will come. You know, you have to kind of push it out there and say, hey, come look.
Yeah, writing it's only part of it. Because
Right.
if you don't get it out there, it just sits in its own little cyber world by itself.
Yeah, nobody knows that the internet is a big
Yeah,
place.
That's right. That's a very worthwhile class. Do you think you'll do another one?
I would like to do more, yeah. So there was a lot of interest in learning about blogging, and I thought about talking about all the ways that you can make money online that don't necessarily have to do with blogging.
Okay, I want to come to your next class. If you have one, I want to go. I think that is a great topic. How did you know about all of that, though? Because your background in veterinary, and then your hobbies in farming, and then blogging. How do you get to be a techie?
I started. It was a journey, you know. I started writing, and I wanted people to see what I was writing, and I got up to a point where I noticed I was getting some page views. People were coming to my website, but the practice where I was working sold. The 3 trees sold, and when I no longer had a position there, I was kind of like, well, something, you know, I need to do something. And I had such a wonderful schedule there, you know, half days and part-time, and it was so close to home. And I just loved picking my kids up from school. And, you know, I didn't want to give that up, so I thought I'll just try to make money from the blog. And so on a little rabbit hole, you know, down the rabbit hole, just learning and online courses and studying and reading and trying things out, seeing what works.
Fantastic.
So
Yeah, the writing, I think from what I observed anyway, the writing becomes the last thing she has to worry about doing.
Yeah.
It's learning all the platforms and all the tools and all the creative, how to operate all those things.
Yeah, I imagine so. Because I sit here and think what a dedicated person you are to blog, but that's not even the half of it. You can probably blog in short order, but the rest of it takes a lot of time.
yeah, there's Facebook page and a Pinterest account and Instagram and YouTube videos, and I'm not even really good at all of it. I just do as much as I can. So
Yeah.
the email lists, all of that. So
A lot to keep up with.
yeah, but it's fun. It's really fun.
That's awesome. And Mark, what about you? Where are you seeing your farming? When you get the Laura, you've gotten the Laura done, and when you get that tomato out there, can you retire?
No, it's not my
nice.
intention.
But
That's just the Laura, the Mini Mater Laura is just the first step. It's kind of like in the tech world. V.2, V.3, there's always new and improved. There's always new genes to move into it to make it more robust or more flavorful. So we'll just do more tomatoes.
Okay.
And then we want to keep taking care of Hartwell best we can. So,
I love that.
ever since Dad passed last year, I've found myself saying over and over, and I didn't feel differently necessarily before, but I'm ashamed I didn't say it much, how much this community's been incredible.
Yeah.
Everywhere we turn, there's just been outreach and genuine. And so it's been very touching because, nothing makes up for an absence, but just to know that somebody did make a difference. And it's,
Indeed, he did.
and so this Hartwell's been great.
That's amazing. It's interesting that you feel a little more of a responsibility. Your dad left big shoes, as you know, but you continue his work at Dairy Queen and all of the important things that he did in the community you're continuing to do. You were honored at the Chamber of Commerce this past year, which was really cool. We had Christy Rucker on here, and she talked about doing the intro for you, and y'all were friends. Y'all actually grew up together, she said.
And yes, Christy and I were besties, and her mom and my mom used to do our class parties together, and there's not enough like Christy. Well, there's only one,
That's right.
but there's not enough people like her in the world.
I
She's
agree
an
with
amazing
you.
individual.
That is neat. Were you surprised when you won that award?
I was surprised, ish.
Ish.
Because she said we have to go to this thing on this night, and I knew not to ask questions, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
I was like,
you weren't
I
sure what
can't
it was.
imagine, but I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah. What
so,
a nice thing, though,
but it was very nice.
to be honored like that.
It
That
was great.
Great. And I guess you knew, but you had to keep it a secret.
Yes,
That was hard.
I was like Christy's partner in crime.
Yeah.
That is good. Everybody needs that. I'm proud for you. I really am. And with the farm, you'll continue to grow it, you think?
Probably so. I mean, like I said, we'll just keep with our breeding, and she's always got new projects. So yes, the farm will continue to gain complexity and layers. And
Will you ever have groups out there to teach them things?
we would like to. We've talked about it, and we've got a barn kind of halfway was kind of remodeled, kind of set up, and Laura has definitely expressed a desire to share and learn and see if we can't get some more people. I mean, stuff like just growing, but tomato breeding, any of that, I can't imagine high school having an opportunity to come in and just kind of start my own project from scratch.
I know, that would be neat.
Of course, at 17 or 18, maybe I had a lot of other stuff on my mind besides
Probably.
tomatoes. So-
right?
Probably.
So perspective again,
Yeah. When you were young, speaking of when you were growing up, at what point did your dad and mom say, all right, it's time for you to come in and work? Or did you say, when can I start working?
Oh no, I guess there was always an assumption there. There was never any question that you're going to be working in the DQ.
Yeah.
Specifically when, I don't remember. I just grew up always, I remember going a little in the mornings before school and then after. Not till high school till I really remember actually having to work on like full days, weekend days and stuff like that. But I grew up in it working some.
Yeah.
all
parts
along.
and pieces.
Yeah.
And they worked hard, your mom and dad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dad, yeah, both of them. They were a tag team. You know, Dad was the face up front and the social and just keeping the wheels turning, and Mom was back there saying, "Time to lean, time to clean." You know, to keep it all going. So it was a very nice. They complemented each other.
Yeah,
their
that was
styles.
a good team. They
Yeah.
were. Did they bring you up with, pearls of wisdom that you hear in your head to this day?
A little, I think more it was observational. I don't know that
So they didn't
took
impart
me
so much.
aside and say like this is the rule here or anything like that.
You just watch them.
But when I do come to situations, I automatically think back to what I saw one of them do at one point in time. You know.
Yeah.
So it's there, but yeah.
Wow. But there's never a shortage for me because even my grandparents, I can hear their voices in my head sometimes just making observations about things that are happening. And so I always feel like I know what they would say about things, which is funny. Whose voice goes through your head, Laura, when you...
I have probably just things, because I'm online all the time, so that's I'm a consumer of the internet.
Yeah.
So
you
I
absorb everything.
I spend a lot of time, just learning about different things. So I got all kinds of little quotes pop up. I work a lot on positive self-talk is one of the things that I do too. So I do.
So that is where you don't cut yourself down, probably.
Right.
And you give us examples of that.
Oh, well, one of my favorite things that I quotes was, "It's hard to be happy if somebody's mean to you all the time. So be nice to yourself." So.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. So don't be so mean to yourself.
Yeah, if you're always talking about.
Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a mom. My body's not what I would like it to be, and
Look at him shaking his head.
well,
rolling
he's just,
his eyes
I'm a
over
woman,
there.
and
know.
and it's whether we like it or not, that's something we worry about, and so just trying to be
good to yourself.
yeah,
Honor
especially
yourself.
with just having all the things that we do, and just trying to stay on top of it all. You can't waste time being negative.
It's true. It's true. What else do you say to yourself besides be nice to yourself?
A lot of it's just ending the negative thought, just right in the middle of it. Just don't do that.
I think all women must struggle with that because there's that little negative voice in your head that says, that calls out things. And how do you stop that? Do you just take your mind onto something else, like you would redirect a toddler, or do you counter it with something?
Whatever works for that moment. So a lot of it, especially with a blog and I'm making money and people are asking me questions and there's sometimes pressure, I feel like, that we call it the imposter syndrome, who am I, to be doing this. But I surround myself with positive women too, Facebook groups and online stuff, because I can fit it into my schedule, when I have time. But, hearing them say what you have to share is worth sharing.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
Don't edit yourself, So I just, whenever
advice.
I have negative thoughts, I call it declining them. It's I decline you.
That's good.
Yeah, just turn it away.
I like that. Do you see that in your kids so far? I know Ivy's too little, but do you see they talk about girls as they get into middle school not raising their hand as much and things like that. Do you see that dynamic with your two kids?
I think that the younger girl, 11-year-old, she's a pretty confident kid.
That's good.
So don't you think?
That's good.
Yeah. So they see me as a veterinarian and having an online business. They see Mark running his own business, and so they see two confident people doing things.
Yeah, a great example.
Yeah, so I think hopefully I've tried to get them to start their own websites, their own blogs.
Yes.
So
that would be great. What do you think they would write about?
Well, my daughter wants to write about making slime. Yeah.
Making slime?
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
the
Yes, slime.
like
You
with
can-
glue and
Yeah.
I don't know what goes in it, glue and laundry detergent or something.
Okay.
Shaving cream.
She could do that.
She makes slime and you put glitter and beads
Yeah.
and things in there, and so she wants
She
to
could
do
do that.
Yeah.
She could do that. And what would your son write about?
Video games,
Ah.
Fortnite. What is that dance that they do?
I don't know.
I don't
Fortnite.
either,
Have you
but
ever
yeah.
played Fortnite?
I have not. I have seen it, but I have not played it.
Have you played it, Lauren?
No.
And I was out there, nor have I watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
So,
no.
Is there
the
anything
things.
besides tomatoes that has your attention? Anything fascinating? How'd you get
gosh.
hooked on tomatoes? Just because you like to eat them?
I guess maybe it was the genetic diversity and the fact that they were such a big crop for the world. I mean, as far as weight goes, they're top 3. So there's always an interest in tomatoes, and there's a lot of research out there. So
Yeah.
it's stuff I could use and grab a
never
hold to. And
Thought about a plant having a genetic makeup, let alone one you could alter. So do all plants have that you could hybrid? The potato, for example?
oh yes, by all means.
Really?
He's
Yeah.
bred okra.
I've bred okra before. I haven't bred potatoes, but there are plenty of people that do.
Yeah.
And when they send them, we're used to buying potatoes and cutting them up, right, and planting them. But it's called TPS. It's called True Potato Seed.
True potato seed.
And potatoes are in the same family as tomatoes, so they're crossed very much the same way.
Could you ever cross one of that? Sounds.
No, but you can graft one to the other and grow both.
You can grow both.
You can have
So
a
one
potato
plant will grow
plant,
both?
and you can graft a tomato plant on the top, and it will produce tomato fruit and potatoes. I'm not recommending you do that. It's not going to be very good at either one, but
Oh,
it can do that.
it can be done.
Yeah.
And okra, man, I think okra is one of the finest vegetables out there.
Yeah.
Love okra.
The plants
So-
are very cool too.
A
Yeah.
lot of fun to grow. I love anything with diversity. And I mean, we grew 18 different varieties of basil one year. Mm-hmm. And that
Basil has 18.
there's
Okay,
a
I
lot
didn't
more than
know
that.
that.
Tomatoes, there's over 7,000 catalog varieties. So
Do you get excited every year when the seed catalog comes around?
It's a deal.
yeah, it's a thing.
Is that where you get your seeds? Do you go searching through, or do you have farmers that you buy from, or how do you buy seeds?
A little bit of everything. I mean, now at this point, we trade, we do stuff like that. Of course, we always order some every year.
Yeah.
The catalogs come in, we mark stuff. This first year, I haven't bought a ton of new seeds.
Yeah.
Now that we're doing breeding, we got all our own stuff going on. Don't have time to.
Yeah.
And you get a
Venture too
collection.
far
You
out.
can save them from year to year, so we have quite
Yeah,
a
and we
collection.
save our own seeds. So
How
if
do
we
you
ever buy
save 'em?
one,
Do you have
just squish it out in the cup.
And just leave it in the
You
pantry?
leave
or
it
something?
for a few days and you can let it ferment. There's a process there. It's
Okay.
not complicated, but it's
Okay.
a specific process.
Okay.
Or worst case, just squish them out on a towel and let them dry, and then you can have the seeds. That's
And
not
then check the
ideal,
seeds.
but hey, if you don't know how to do it, just do that, and you
Just,
can
like,
have them
smear
next
it
year.
out.
Just
Yeah.
smear it out.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's
it.
interesting. So if you buy something at the grocery store, for example, or the farmer's market,
Yes.
and it was very tasty, would you be able to save seeds from that?
At the grocery store, probably not.
Probably not,
At the
because
farmer's
they are.
market, it just depends on what it was.
Okay.
Most at the grocery store is going to be a hybrid tomato.
Okay.
Meaning that when you plant it, you'll still get tomatoes. You're just not sure what size they're going to be, color, flavor.
So
It'll be
probably not a good idea.
inconsistent.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't. It's just not as. But if you go to the farmer's market and you buy a Brandywine or a Cherokee Purple, and if it's really what it is, then yes, you can save those seeds and plant them and have all the ones you want next year.
That's very economical.
Yeah.
Another reason to shop at the farmer's market,
Yeah.
right? Do you need to have a lot of land to start a garden?
No.
Not at all.
How much, if you want to start something just for, say, a couple of people, how much would you try to plant just to have fresh vegetables?
I mean, if you have a 4x4, you can do a lot.
4 foot?
4 feet by 4 feet,
Really?
you can do a lot. And that's not going to feed a couple for a year.
No, but it would.
But that's enough to
enough.
give you,
Tomatoes and peppers and basil and so on.
so when people say they don't have room, and I understand where they're coming
Yeah,
from, I'm not saying they,
you don't
have
need
a
much
ton,
room.
but
I
you don't
didn't know
need
that.
a ton. Now, of course, the more you have, the more we can hook you up with different stuff to do that will last longer. You can put it up and save it and that type
Yeah.
of stuff. But,
Yeah.
Even containers, you can grow vegetables and
Yeah,
And
1
containers.
by 4 containers.
Is putting up food a big part of what you do?
We don't do that
Or you
much
so
with it. We
focused
just
on-
Try,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we dry some stuff. We've got a dehydrator
good.
and some stuff like that. So
When you start your 4x4 starter garden, would you dig out the soil, or would you go build up the wood around it and go buy soil and put in? How do you mix the
that's
soil?
my
mixture?
recommendation.
Okay, to build it up.
Yeah, to build it up.
It's pretty much Georgia red clay, isn't it? Everywhere.
Yeah. Or to dig out and put some back in. Building it up and putting new in is really the best. I mean, if you know what you're doing, of course, you can fix any soil out there so
Yeah.
that it'll grow great stuff.
Yeah.
But for
So I would go build up or dig out, and then I would buy soil.
Yes.
And I guess I would go to the garden center, and they would tell me what kinds for vegetables, or do I look on the
for what kinds of what? For dirt or vegetables?
Dirt.
Dirt. Yeah, pretty much anything that's not any garden
Garden
mix,
soil.
garden soil will be okay.
Okay.
Maybe add some compost. Or,
Yeah, organic compost.
When you say compost, does that mean like coffee grounds out of your kitchen, or
You can buy
That
bags of
counts.
compost. Yeah. Or you can.
you can buy compost?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're a composter already, like banana peels and coffee grounds and
ground.
things like that.
Or even cow poo that's been gone through a process and cooked down and decomposed.
Yeah.
That's still compost.
That's still compost? Okay.
But not in the raw form. It's got to be,
You have to let it. Yeah.
Gotta let it dry out first, and
But
then
any of that good organic material
Yeah.
will help out. So yeah, just 4x4, just plant something you like.
Put
When
like
people
a
start
weed
out,
barrier down. You know. Or
like a net, or
I would cut down the weeds as much as you can, and if you want to pull them, you can. But just
for a
put
brand
in-
new bed.
Yeah, brand new bed. Just cover it, maybe some cardboard. What I always do is cardboard and then landscape fabric on top
Okay.
of
And
that.
then build on top.
and then build on top of that. I see what you mean now.
Just slows down the weeds.
Yeah, and they still find you, though,
Yes,
don't they?
yes.
That's the biggest part. My kids started a garden when they were young, and my dad was still living then, so he would help them get started, and he would get it plowed. Harlan Martin would come over and plow
Yeah.
for him, and then he would get the kids started, and they would plant it, and they did a great job until the weeds, and then they just realized it was a daily thing. They have to go. That was the hardest part, but then the harvesting was fun. So I'm really glad that they like that.
If you put down a weed barrier and put your garden bed on top of it, plant your garden bed, and then lay out a mulch of some kind. So whether that's another weed fabric, you can put the weed fabric down and plant through it, or you can use like just wheat straw and just do like 3 inches of wheat straw, and that will help slow down the weeds as well after you plant. There's a lot of good reasons to mulch around your plants, so don't just leave the dirt bare underneath there.
Oh, see, I'm learning things.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun. I'm going to try to plant a garden.
You should do it.
Oh, you said what to plant? Plant some radishes and some
Okay.
lettuce, even if you
Oh,
don't
I'm
like
glad.
to eat it, because
They-
it comes in so quick.
fast.
You get that satisfaction of
Oh, that's
seeing a
good.
plant
I'm
grow and come
so
in.
glad you said that. Okay, give us the radishes,
Radishes, yeah.
lettuces,
Any of the lettuce.
any lettuce.
Yeah, just plant. If you can even either do a patch where you can come through with scissors and cut a salad bowl,
Yeah.
or you can plant the heads and cut them out one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, radish, lettuce, some kale if you like cooking any kale. If you're not that into health, you know.
love kale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lacinato dinosaur kale. That's the most fun, I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Herbs are easy.
Yeah, couple tomato plants, couple of
Tomato
bell pepper plants,
Bell peppers and herbs.
and herbs. Yeah, that's if you want to do some chives or some onion type, some leeks.
And all of those
those
grow
are-
really well around here in this kind of climate.
Most all those, it's seasonal. It depends on the
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah.
But starting early with lettuce and radishes and any of the cold crops is good.
Okay.
They'll get up and grow and be pulled out before you even think about picking a tomato.
Yay. That's
like
great.
to-
Now, if I'm growing tomatoes, as I'm obviously a neophyte here, would I be better off buying an existing tomato plant or trying to grow from a seed?
From now, you would want to buy a plant.
Buy a plant.
Okay.
For new folks, grow seeds, kill plants, grow them again. Don't ever quit. Learn how to grow seeds.
Just
But for
learn.
now, just go buy plants
Go buy
and
the
plant them. They'll do great.
That's great. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to. Does your blog have a search capacity?
It does.
I need to
Yes,
search
yeah.
a few things.
It does, yeah.
Well, this has been so fun. Again, y'all are a fascinating couple, and
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that you're in Hartwell and that you're in Hartwell, and that I'm here with you.
Well, thank you for having us, but we didn't bore people too much out there.
We enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.